Chapter 84. It's time. Chen Ge was weirded out by the single painted wall in the 6th cubicle. He returned to the 4th cubicle, and he was right. There were no doodles in the 4th cubicle. Could it be a mere prank from the students? But why did they pick the 5th cubicle? It's not the first one or the last one. To get to the truth, Chen Ge returned to the 6th cubicle. He hesitated before walking into it. The water pipes all ran through the 6th cubicle, so the space was much smaller compared to the other cubicles. There's nothing worth noting here. Do I need to enter the 5th cubicle for the mission to progress? Chen Ge looked at the eyes on the wall before raising his finger to lightly touch them. They look scary, but they're just drawings. He was locked in a staring match with the eyes on the wall for a long time. The 4th cubicle is normal. The drawings are only in the 5th and 6th cubicle. This partition is unique because it's covered with drawing of the eyes on both sides. Something slowly clicked in Chen Ge's mind. He used his finger to slowly move through every drawing on the wall. When his finger touched one of the eyes that was next to his knees, Chen Ge's expression shifted. It is as I predicted. He squatted down and flashed some light on the partition. Underneath his finger was a peephole the size of a human pupil. A small hole had been gauged into the wall. Since its size was similar to an actual pupil and it was hiding in the corner, it was difficult to discover. All the other eyes are to hide this single peephole. As Chen Ge looked at the peephole in the wall, he felt weirdly unsettled. The peephole connects the 5th and 6th cubicles, meaning someone once used this peephole to spy on the person inside the 5th cubicle from the 6th cubicle. Who would have thought of the many eyes that surrounded the walls? One of them would be real. Since the pipes are gathered in the 6th cubicle, as long as the peeping Tom climbed on top of the pipes, he wouldn't be discovered even if someone peeked in from underneath the door. The man had it all thought out. Being looked at in the dark made Chen Ge feel very uncomfortable. Thinking about the mission description, the person that hid in the 5th cubicle was the victim of the peeping Tom, which could be the Red Shadow. Now that the secret of the 5th cubicle has been solved, how do I complete the mission? Do I have to stay inside the 5th cubicle for the Red Shadow to spy on me? Chen Ge waved the mallet in the air. If that was supposed to happen, he would not mind smashing the Red Shadow's eye blind. Just as Chen Ge was trying to figure out how to complete the mission, the set of footsteps started again in the corridor, and they were speeding toward the 3rd floor. What's happening? The footsteps are more urgent than before. Is it because I opened the 5th cubicle? But that does not sound right. I opened the cubicle much earlier, so why are they rushing over now? Before he could come up with an answer, the footsteps had already arrived at the 3rd floor. Chen Ge was standing inside the 6th cubicle, so his only choice was to step into the cubicle and close the door. The moment he did, the footsteps entered the 3rd floor bathroom. Finally, the time has come. Chen Ge switched off his flashlight and raised his mallet. However, what happened next completely surprised him. After the footsteps entered the toilet, the being did not check the cubicle one after another but headed for the 5th cubicle directly. After the door of the cubicle next to him was closed, the toilet suddenly became very quiet. They're just beside me, but isn't the order a bit messed up? According to the mission requirement, it should be me inside the 5th cubicle, right? The silence persisted. After the owners of the footsteps entered the 5th cubicle, there were no more sounds. After waiting for another 10 minutes, Chen Ge's interest in the person next door was slowly piqued. He glanced at the peephole on the wall before squatting down and leaned toward it. The black peephole seemed to have a magical attraction, drawing Chen Ge closer to it. On the other end of the peephole was not a bloodshot eye or a red shadow, but 2 kids about the age of 3 or 4. The boy and the girl hid themselves beside the toilet, holding each other's hands. They looked intensely worried. Shouldn't it be a red shadow? Where did these 2 kids come from? Chen Ge pulled his gaze back. The 2 children next door could not be described with the word scary. Another side mission related to the well mentions a brother and sister. Since the deep well is related to Fan Yu, could these 2 be the aunt's son and daughter? But why would they appear here? And they look like they are being chased by something. A series of questions appeared in his mind. Chen Ge gripped the mallet tightly. If his opponent was these 2 children, he had confidence he could win. I should wait a little longer. I have a feeling that things aren't that simple. The night darkened, and suddenly the silence in the third-floor toilet was shattered by a new set of footsteps that came from the corridor. Chen Ge pulled the cubicle door open a sliver and looked out. When the footsteps stopped at the toilet entrance, a faded red shadow was reflected on the tiles on the toilet wall. It's finally here. Chen Ge's mission target had finally arrived. He did not dare to breathe as his eyes were staring at the door. The sound of footsteps became clearer, signifying that the red shadow had entered the third-floor toilet. Creak. The first cubicle's door was pulled open, and Chen Ge saw a blurry red shadow poke its head into the cubicle. It stopped for a long time before moving to the second cubicle. This was the first time in his life that Chen Ge felt the sound of door opening was so grating. Very soon, the doors to the second, third, and fourth cubicles were pulled open, and the red shadow stopped before the fifth cubicle. Watching this unfold, Chen Ge tensed up. His body was like a pressed spring, about to explode at any moment. If he had followed the mission's instructions, he would have been the one inside the fifth cubicle, and what the red shadow was about to do inside the fifth cubicle would be the thing that should have happened to him. In the silent and dark toilet, the red shadow gripped the door of the fifth cubicle and slowly pulled it open. The room felt like it had turned darker. Children's cries and laughter appeared from the cubicle next door. The red shadow stood at the door but did not go in. It looked left and right before moving to the last cubicle. Chapter 85. I Should Be Afraid. From the sliver of the door that was left ajar, Chen Ge saw the red shadow stop before the sixth cubicle. There was just a thin partition between them. Time seemed to have slowed down for the imminent confrontation. Several seconds later, the red shadow leaned toward the door, and at the same time, Chen Ge raised his mallet. Chen Ge watched as the red shadow made contact with the door. As the door creaked open, every muscle in Chen Ge's body tensed. Before the door was completely opened, the red shadow had started to phase through the door. Facing the dangerous threat, Chen Ge's survival instinct caused him to smash his mallet on the red shadow, and in the same motion, he aimed a strong kick at the door. Bang! The decrepit cubicle door, understandably, could not withstand his assault. It flew off its hinges and slammed into the red shadow, which did not even have the chance to evade. The red shadow did not anticipate this, and its body started to blur as it rolled on the floor. Then it ran out of the toilet. Chen Ge gasped greedily for air. He had expected a fierce battle, but his opponent appeared to have a much weaker heart than he had anticipated. Chen Ge's sudden appearance seemed to have spooked it. Has the thing forgotten its ghostly identity? Chen Ge did not relax as he gripped the mallet tightly. After the red shadow made its escape, children's crying drifted out from the fifth cubicle. The two kids, who Chen Ge assumed to be the woman's children, were still inside the toilet. Stop crying! This was a common trope in scary movies. A creepy sound of tears that came from inside the toilet. It should have been scary, but with an angry warning from Chen Ge, the children's crying really did stop. He blocked the entrance of the fifth cubicle angrily. The two children had their hands over their lips, their pale faces filled with fear. Why are you two acting like the victims? Chen Ge's emotions were a bit out of control from the intense confrontation with the red shadow. His loud voice, combined with the dangerous-looking mallet, scared the two kids in the cubicle. They held each other's hands as they half-crawled, half-ran out of the toilet. Was I being a bit too harsh there? The two children could very well be Fan Yu's brother and sister. Whether it was for the Deep Well mission or to investigate the disappearance of Fan Yu's parents, he had to follow the two children. The two kids ran very fast while Chen Ge chased after them. They soon left the education block and entered the office building next to it. Chen Ge followed closely behind them. When he got onto the second floor, the two kids suddenly disappeared. Where did they go? The interior of the office building was different from the two other buildings at Mu Yang High School. The whole building had been spared from the fire, and it was much cleaner. Chen Ge pushed open a random door and peeked in. The room had two tables and a bookshelf. There was flower pots sitting on the windowsill. They disappeared in the blink of an eye. Where could they be hiding? After walking deeper into the room, Chen Ge noticed a faded plaque lying on the floor. It read, Mathematics. All of the mathematics classes at Mu Yang High School were held in this one small room. Chen Ge soon realized why. After all, Muyang High School did not have that many students. They could easily fit into one room. Also, fewer students meant a smaller number of teachers. This room was probably the office for the mathematics teacher as well. He took a cursory look around the room. He discovered a rotten school bag inside the drawer of one of the tables. The bag was tiny and had cartoon prints on it. Chen Ge placed it on the table and opened the zipper. There was a cartoon coloring book and a box of crayons inside. Why would these things be inside the mathematics teacher's office? The contents of the school bag did not seem to be for high school students. Chen Ge surmised that the school bag probably belonged to the mathematics teacher's child, and the bag had been left behind for some reason. After opening the crayon box, Chen Ge realized that every color was there except red and black. Chen Ge was immediately reminded of Fan Yu. After flipping through the coloring book, Chen Ge's suspicion was further confirmed. All of the pages had the same drawing, a black house with two red small human figures. All of the drawings' backgrounds were the black house, but the position of the red people changed every time. Chen Ge pulled out Fan Yu's drawing from his pocket and placed it beside the coloring book. The comparison caused him to suck a light breath. At least the boy's painting style has remained the same after all these years. The drawings had given Chen Ge plenty of useful information. The rotten school bag and the spider webs that filled the drawer meant that the bag had been shoved inside the drawer way before Muyang High School was closed down. This meant that the boy had started to draw ghosts from a young age. His pair of eyes had probably been like that since birth. If the black house in the painting was his home, then starting from several years ago, two ghosts had been residing in the boy's home. Relating it to the aunt's testimony and what Chen Ge had seen earlier, the two ghosts were most likely the aunt's children. After living together for so long, the aunt must know that Fan Yu has a special vision. Chen Ge looked at the two red and black drawings. It is because she knew that she was so willing to bring Fan Yu to the haunted house. She probably pampers Fan Yu thusly because she is channeling her love for three children into that one boy. The appearance of Fan Yu's school bag also told Chen Ge another thing. This room likely belonged to Fan Yu's father. He was Muyang High School's mathematics teacher. From the conversation with Fan Yu's aunt, Chen Ge knew that Fan Yu's father had been fired from another school due to drinking. However, Fan Yu's aunt added that other schools rejected Fan Yu's father, and he had nowhere else to turn to, which was why he had ended up at Muyang High School. This made Chen Ge curious. What kind of mistake had Fan Yu's father made after drinking that would make him blacklisted from the entire school district and be shown the door by normal schools? At the time, Chen Ge had wanted to ask, but the topic had quickly been pushed aside by Fan Yu's aunt when she pulled out the mysterious photo. What kind of person was the missing father like? Chen Ge drummed the mallet on the table in thought. He continued to look through the room and finally found several paper notes inside an abandoned book on the bookshelf. Teacher Fan, we know what you did in the 6th cubicle of the 3rd floor's female toilets. We demand that you apologize to the girl immediately and get out of this school. You have 2 nights to come to a decision. We want an open apology. This is your last night. If you insist on staying at this school, then you shall stay here forever.